Uncle Rick here, Uncle Rick's Secret Recipe. Today we're smoking up a Boston pork butt. You heard me right, we're smoking up a butt. Got the old smoker fired up. Butt's been in for about 3 hours now. We're gonna be slapping in some baked beans, put them right underneath the butt. So we're gonna slip those in and spritz the butt while we got her open. Well, we're gonna go ahead and slip those beans in and spritz the old butt up. Gotta get my pliers here. I don't want to get my fingers burnt again. But look at that butt. Look at that bark starting to form on that. The fat cap's cracking. So it's gonna be coming out here in probably about an hour, maybe two. Right now, we're just wanting to spritz it up really good and heavy with apple cider vinegar is all I'm doing. We just want to keep this butt nice and wet. There ain't nothing like a moist butt. We're going to slip this thing back in there. Now it should be juicing good right about now. So we're going to take these beans, which if you've never done beans in a smoker underneath a chunk of meat before, you are missing out. So let's just close this on up and let her smoke. Well, now that we got her closed back up and she'll be starting to smoke away pretty good here, we're gonna let her go for about another hour, maybe an hour and a half. Check that fat cap. I'm looking for a nice crack in that fat cap. That's gonna tell me that thing's about ready to be pulled out and wrapped. Now what I did to prepare that pork butt was, I used Uncle Rick's Secret Recipe. I put it on there pretty heavy all around after I rubbed it good with olive oil. That way the seasoning will stick good. And I added a little extra paprika in with it so that it would get a nice dark red bark. So we're just gonna see how it's gonna be when I go to wrap it, and I know one thing, it's gonna be some kind of good. Well, now look at that. We've got a nice little meal going on here. Our pork butt's cracking up nice. It's looking really nice, forming a nice bark on it. Been spritzing it quite a bit with apple cider vinegar, and it's just coming along right nice. Beans looking really good. Getting a lot of that drippings from that pork. We're gonna probably let the beans go a little bit yet. But we're gonna go ahead and pull that pork butt out, wrap it up, and let her go. Let's go ahead and do that. Well, we got the butt out and we're ready to wrap it, but before we do, we're gonna really give it a good dousing with this apple cider vinegar. We want to keep this thing nice and moist, and we just don't want it to dry out. So we're gonna hit her hard, wrap her up, and we're just gonna let her go. I'm wrapping her up with double layers of aluminum foil. I just want to make sure I don't get any rips in it that's going to cause me to lose any of those wonderful juices. We want to keep all that moisture in there and keep her sealed up good. You want to wrap it up nice and tight, because you want her to stay good and tight and sealed up. Keep all those juices right in it. That's how you're going to end up with a good, moist, tender pork butt. And back in the smoker we're going to go for about another 3 hours. Well, there they are. Smoked baked beans. Had them in the smoker for about 2 hours. Pulled them out, and they look delicious. I'm telling you what, I'm just gonna have to try them. Let's just see how these baked beans are. I'm sure they're gonna be some kind of good. Let me tell you something, folks. You're missing a boat if you don't smoke baked beans. Uncle Rick at you. We'll be back when that pork butt's ready to come out. Well, we're about 8.5 hours into this cook now. I went ahead and decided to not do the butt to finish it off in the smoker because I was running out of chips, and you really don't need any more smoke on it anyhow because it's wrapped in aluminum foil. So I went ahead and stuck it in the oven, 275, wrapped her up good and tight, and we're going to take a peek at it and see how she looks. Well, we got her wrapped up good now. You can see it looks like a little juice might have come out here. Not a whole lot. So we're just going to unwrap her, take a peek at it. Well, I hope the old smell-o-vision's working. And you can just look at all that juice in there. I mean, this thing is just loaded with juice. One sure sign of it being done is get up around 190 or so, 195, and you can see I hit 200, so looks pretty good there. But one good indicator is if you take this bone right here, the shoulder bone, and if you can wiggle that and it breaks loose, just like that right there, you know it's done. It's falling apart. This baby's done. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to wrap her back up tight because we want to let this bad boy rest a little bit. While it's resting, it's going to soak those juices back up in. It's going to stop cooking. It's going to stop forcing the juices out. And it's going to push them, suck them all back in, I mean. So we're going to wrap her up good and tight, let her set for about an hour, maybe a half hour, and then we'll see what kind of good we got. Well, the butt's been resting for about a half hour. I went ahead and wrapped her up good and tight and put some towels on top of it to keep it warm. That should have given it a chance to soak up all those juices, or at least a lot of them, and stop cooking and all that. You can see there's still a bunch of juices there. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and see if I can't get some of those off. And we'll save them for later, just in case we want to add a little in to make sure she's good and moist and all that. But I really don't want that much juice in there right now. So far, this totaled out to be about a 9-hour process. 8.5 hours cook. For about 4.5 to 5 of that was smoke time. Alright, that should do her for right now. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pull that off of the aluminum foil and break it all up. You can just see that thing is just falling apart and full of nothing but juiciness. We'll go ahead and get rid of this here quick. Now here's that bone I was telling you about. Should just pull right off. Look at that. Pulled right out of there. Simple as can be. Now if this pork butt isn't done, I don't know what is. Just look at that. Falling apart, tender. You got that beautiful pink color from the smoke. So I'm just going to have to get me a piece of this. Just see how tender it is. Just look at how juicy that is right there. Boston pork butt, folks. That is one juicy, tender butt. It was really a good first experience for a Boston pork butt. I do have a little bit of advice for you guys out there. If you got wives who like to smoke and do their own cooking, like with smoking, and if they do up a Boston pork butt and they ask you, honey, How's my butt? You better be real careful on your answer. Uncle Rick out. Just remember, the only thing lacking is your imagination.